Again from Minnesota Gun Rights with a quick update on the GAG Act, Senate File 154. A lot of you have been in contact with Senator Carlson about this bill and sending us your emails of your correspondence back and forth with him. And quite frankly, Senator Carlson is acting like a bully caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He's insulting people's intelligence, first of all, and second of all, he's not even talking about the substance of his bill. And he's making a fraudulent claim about he's trying to take it to Bloomberg in some fashion. But we want to talk about some of the meat in this bill so that you have an idea and have this information fresh in your mind when you get a chance to talk with Senator Carlson. So right out of the gate, what Minnesota Gun Rights does is we are an issue advocacy organization. We advocate for the Second Amendment and people's gun rights. We fight against gun control bills. We promote pro-gun bills when they come to the legislature, and that's what we do. We seek to make a connection between the legislative season and the election season. But what this bill does is target organizations like ours and try to prohibit us from telling you how your state representative or your state senator voted when they were down in St. Paul representing you. And so right out of the gate in this bill, what it does is it changes the definition of issue advocacy to express advocacy. They want to liken our issue discussion on gun rights to an endorsement or telling you to vote for or against a certain candidate, and that's not what we do. So right here in section 1 of the bill, it says a communication when taken as a whole and with limited reference to external events, including the proximity to the election, is not susceptible to any other interpretation by a reasonable person other than that is advocating the election or defeat of one or more clearly identified candidates. That's the definition change right there that we're talking about. That's where it changes issue discussion to express advocacy. Line 3.22. Another example, it says electioneering communications in which a candidate is identified negatively. They don't want us to be able to say that Representative X or Y voted for a gun control bill on this or that day while they were representing you down in St. Paul, because they don't want people to be reminded of where their candidates really stand during election season. But Section 4 really gets into the nitty-gritty of this bill, the bureaucratic red tape and rigmarole that organizations like ours, which don't have full-time staff lawyers, that we would have to comply with. Electioneering communications means a communication distributed by television or radio. That's in line 4.18. This directly targets Minnesota Gun Rights because we ran some of the hardest-hitting political ads in Minnesota history in this last election season, and mobilized gun owners, as a result of some of those communications, stormed to the polls on election and kicked out several anti-gun legislators. Few more lines down, 4.23 says 30 days before a primary election or 60 days before a general election or targeted to the relevant electorate. They want to stop us from talking to certain districts within a proximity to an election so that we can't remind people how their legislators voted. There's a couple more whole pages of this nightmare of red tape. Here's one. It says in line 6.8, it says every person who makes a disbursement for the cost of producing or distributing electioneering communications that aggregate more than $1,500 in a calendar year must disclose X, Y, and Z. There is a financial threshold, $1,500, and that's not targeted at big organizations. It's not much to run a radio ad. You can easily run up costs of $1,500 or more. Here's a whole nother page of new language. Here's a whole nother page of language. That's pretty much what it is, folks. This is a direct targeting of political dissent. These people want to vote the way they want to vote during the legislative season and not have to pay a price for it during the election season. And we think that's wrong. We think this is an egregious violation of people's First Amendment rights, and we think it's an egregious violation of their Second Amendment rights as well. So that's why we're asking you to contact Senator Carlson right away. His phone number is 651-297-8073. That's 297-8073. And tell him that these egregious violations and discriminations against the civil rights of people's free speech and their right to associate with organizations that advocate on their behalf, these discriminations will not be tolerated and they will not be taken lightly. So please, folks, make the calls, contact Senator Carlson right away, and then if you could, share this post on your own Facebook wall. We need to get as many people involved in this discussion as possible, and so that we can stop this inside baseball game that's always happening in St. Paul and get as many people involved in this as possible. Thanks a lot, folks, and have a good day.